wholeness, beautiful Silvertree seeds. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the space. As always, I feel so happy and grateful to be here in this space with you. So, I ended the last video with the purest form of magic, the purest form of love is forgiveness. Yes, forgiveness. Very simple, it's a word that we use all the time in the English language. It's something that we say with such ease. Oh, I forgive you. Oh, I forgave her. I've forgiven him. I forgive my mom, I forgive my dad. I forgive. We throw this word around like we do with love. I love you, love you, love you. But what gives forgiveness and what makes it such the most purest form of love is the feeling what it means to forgive, feeling what it truly means to release these wounds of the heart. So today and this week, I'm going to go over what I'll be discussing this week as far as topics. So, how to recognize the wounds of the heart, meaning how do we forgive shame, blame, betrayal, guilt, ignorance? How do we let these things go? How do we transmutate? Excuse me. Ooh, I thought I had to sneeze. How do we release the wounds? How do we heal the wounds of shame, blame, guilt, betrayal, ignorance? These are all things that have wounded each human being. That we cause wounding. We put shame on other people. We put blame on other people. We hurt them out of ignorance. We hurt them by betraying them in some way. It's not just romantic. It's not just dealing with your childhood. We do these things all the time with strangers, with the people we work with, the people that we hold dear, the people that we despise. It's a constant thing, this wounding. And so this week I want to focus on each wound, because I've noticed on my journey that with shame, when the heart is wounded, we build up a wall, right? When someone's hurt, the first thing, if you see someone coming at you with an axe, or you see someone coming at you with something to you that's going to harm your body, the first thing you do is you shield. If you have nothing else, you put up a boundary between you and that other person, or you and that object. When someone's deciding to be physically violent with you. But emotionally, we do the same thing. We put up our arms to guard. And if we're wounded, we put up a boundary to heal. But with life, unfortunately, sometimes we need more space and more time to heal these parts of ourselves. Meaning, let's say, for example, with shame. So let's say you're a little boy growing up and you love to play with your mom's dress shoes, or you like to play with her jewelry, or you like to play, with her fingernail polish. What would happen, right? Your father catches you, okay, and you're shamed for dressing that way, for experimenting in that way, and thus that's a wound. It hurts you. The father figure will say something that wounds the heart, wounds your sense of exploration and creativity and having fun and playing dress up, and now you have this wound of shame, right? And it may take a long while for you to fully heal from that. But at times we're not really allowed to process these wounds in a healthy way. So we'll put up an armor and we'll block it out. And the next time that someone shames us, it triggers that unhealed wound. So we put up another armor. Just like that. And the armor gets thicker and thicker and stronger and stronger. And the same with blame. How do we forgive blame? Right? Most of us in our childhood, when we break a dish as a child, we're playing too hard, we break a dish, we break mom's special, beautiful, wonderful antique mirror, we accidentally tear up our dad's guitar, we put a dent in, you know, the bumper of, you know, a car that's been passed down from, you know, your late grandfather. And so it's just blame, like, I blame you, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. And when we are taking on a bombardment of blame from something that we've done or something that we're innocent of, it causes a deep heart wound. So with any heart wound, what do? When you're hurting, you want to cover that wound. So you put up a boundary. You put up a block, you put up a wall, a boundary to protect yourself. And then again, as you get older and more experienced, right, you get wounded yet again. And that wound, the repetition of the same thing, it triggers that old wound that's not healed. So you have this huge wound inside you just growing, right, and festering. But the wall is protecting that infected wound of the heart. Next, we have betrayal. The betrayal of the heart is by far one of probably the most painful of experiences as a human being. It's incredibly painful. There's nothing, I'm speaking from personal experience, there's nothing that can quite, you know, equate to betrayal. You know, you put, and it's not just of the heart, emotional, but it could be of the body, where someone has, you know, you've been molested, or you've been raped, or you have some kind of experience, some kind of sexual trauma, which again is a very deep heart wound, and it takes a long time, sometimes several years, almost decades, for a person to even come to grips with the reality that that such a thing has wounded them to the extent that it has. And so with betrayal, it's the betrayal of your heart, your mind, your body, your intelligence, right? I've been in situations where I thought I could trust people that were older than me, wiser than me, you know, they were highly academic, right? And in some form, in some way, I had certain experiences in my private life that I felt betrayed. Even though, you know, I probably didn't get the whole story, I couldn't see the whole picture, I felt betrayed at that moment, and it hurt deeply. So another one is guilt, right? And this is usually very personal because it's something that you've done in your life to cause harm to another person. Self-forgiveness is probably one of the hardest. Apart from healing or forgiving the mother, forgiving the father, forgiving yourself for the real big fuck-ups in life. You know, things that you've, you know, found yourself behind bars, or you've lost a marriage because of betrayal, or you've caused harm to an innocent, meaning an animal or a child. You know, these are things that I don't hear in the New Age community as often as it should. And I'm going to reference Teal Swan a little bit here because she does an excellent job with it. She's just, I feel like she's a woman that highly has read many books, has studied human psychology and sociology, as well as all the spiritual modalities, and she's articulates these certain topics, or topics of shadow, or the shadow work, in such a beautiful way that it resonates with millions of people around the world. And so I really respect her work. And another one is ignorance, forgiving ignorance. Now, I think ignorance is probably a bit easier. an easier form or easier wound to heal, in a little bit easier, I shouldn't say easier wound to heal, but a more tactful, because you can practice compassion when forgiving someone who just has hurt you in a way because they just didn't know, right? It's almost like you go into a store and you make a purchase, or you're trying to make a purchase, or you're trying to exchange something, for example, that doesn't work anymore. The cashier is giving you a really, 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 really hard time. And then they're very snobby. They don't want to help. They seem like when you walk into the store, their energy is completely low and they feel just not in the space of wanting to help you. And, so you guys go off. Like it gets to the point where like, oh, you need to leave my store, you need to quit this job, you need to be fired, I want to talk to your manager. We've all had or witnessed that type of experience before. But needless to say, when we're ignorant of a person's story, when we're ignorant of the narratives that they live out in their day-to-day life, we can hurt them. We can cause wounds in other people. And also, we can wound ourselves with our own ignorance. I mean, come on, raise your hand here. I've done things that harmed me or harmed someone else because I was ignorant. I didn't know any better. Right? So these are 5 wounds that I want to touch deeply this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I really would like to dive deep in each one. And, I am a spiritualist. I am into energy work. And maybe, I can get into ways to identify shame, blame, betrayal, guilt, and ignorance within yourself. Because the number one step of healing is awareness. When you're able to become aware of the wounds, that it's there and those feelings are there, you don't even have to dig so deep into the story of how it became. I think that that's also a tool to visit the past timelines, to help you understand. You can analyze the actions, thoughts, feelings, and actions that took place that caused that person to harm you or caused you to harm that other person. There are many ways you can do this, but I find that the easiest way and a more applicable and simple way is to just get in tune with that emotion, the feeling of betrayal, right? We all have it within our wounds. It sleeps in our subconscious mind. And so this is something that it's been on my heart for a while to express the magic, the simple magic in life. Fuck all the pomp and circumstance. I'm not here for it anymore. I in my personal opinion, when it comes to New Age, 10 years ago, I was all about it. 5 years ago, I was all about it. But after, time spent in the Southwest and living on the land in the desert teaches you things. The Southwest holds an energy, the land of the Southwest holds an energy, a very masculine energy, fire energy, where that sun is beaming down and it burns all the bullshit away. It burns all the things all the glittery bullshit, and it just lets you you're raw. You're raw, you're real, you're you, and you have to accept it. Beautiful thing that I love about the Southwest, and I'm talking about the Arizona, New Mexico area. I didn't spend much time in Texas. I've never been to Texas actually, but just Arizona and New Mexico, is that the land speaks to you in a way where if you're meant to be there, it will welcome you and embrace you. If you're not meant to be there, it spits you right back out. And it's nothing about if you're a good person, bad person, if your intentions are good, if they're bad, it doesn't matter. It is the energy. Sedona is a perfect place, a perfect example of that, of the pool you know, that Sedona will have on certain people. There are people who go there, they're called there, they're moved there, and they stay there, and they want to die there. And then there are other parts or other people that, you know, when I went there a couple of times, the last time I went, I knew, I was like, no, this isn't, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And, you know, I went there because, you know, why not? I was invited to go, and I'm like, and I felt the energy, I felt the wind, I felt the fire from the, you know, from the sky, the sun. I felt the vortex speak to me and cleanse me. That wind, that vortex, woo, man, it's powerful. But that's another thing. Forgiveness runs very deep, because once you're able to identify these 5 wounds within yourself, you're able to identify the wounds in your mother and the wounds in your father, and then the wounds in your city and your neighbors, the wounds in the people you work with, the wounds of your state, of your country, the wounds of the earth, and you can feel it, and the land will speak to you. There's so much I want to unpack, but that is my introduction to how to recognize the 5 wounds of the heart, how to forgive, how to heal these wounds with the magic of forgiveness. So thank you so much. Please stay tuned to my room reading for this Wednesday as well. I look forward to connecting with you, and tomorrow we're going to talk, or I am going to speak on shame. How to recognize shame, what is shame, what to do with it, you know, how to alchemize it into a higher vibration with the power of forgiveness, and releasing it, transmutating it into a space of love. So always embracing supreme loving guidance, always expanding my consciousness, and always evolving my human being. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon. Thank you.